When people think about separation or divorce, they usually think about the relationship. Then they think about their exit plan. But one of the biggest questions is actually, who do I talk to? I'm Jason, your friendly neighborhood relationship coach, and I hope this helps. Not every friend is equipped for this conversation. Some people gossip, some people leak information, some people make your pain about them. So before you start opening up, ask yourself a few questions. The person that you're thinking about talking to, do they listen without judging? Can they hear you without rushing you? Do they know you well enough to check you? And maybe most importantly, do you respect them enough to actually listen? You don't need somebody to hype you up. Your friend who is going to get you more enraged or excited is not the person you want to talk to. For this to go smoothly, you want it to be calm as possible. You're going to face a version of your partner that you probably never faced before. And more than likely, you're going to be a version of yourself that you've never seen before. So what you do need is comfort. You also want honesty. You do need encouragement to move forward without losing yourself. And there's another thing people don't talk enough about: attraction. If you're emotionally vulnerable and if you're getting separated, you probably are, and your friend is attracted to you or you're attracted to them, that can complicate things really quickly. One of my friends who's a divorce lawyer gave me advice when I was going through my divorce. He said, no new partners and no public dating until you get your separation agreement signed. And I think it was actually pretty solid advice. So be thoughtful about who you can lean on. You don't want to lose a good friendship or mess up a possible future relationship because you entered it at the wrong time when you were going through grief and when you were emotionally vulnerable. Support should create clarity, not more chaos. And eventually, you need to talk about practical things too. Your safety. Do you need to leave quickly for your safety or someone else's? Your budget. What do you actually make? What do you actually spend? Not guesses, real numbers. You do need to look at your bills, your bank statements, what you have access to, what they have access to. You really need to go pretty deep into the numbers just to make sure that they make sense. You don't want to make this decision and then be left hung out to dry where the money is concerned. Then you actually need to talk about custody. What do you want it to look like? What do you realistically think your ex will accept? What outcome is most likely knowing who they are? Really think about that one. Sometimes people have a strange idea of what their partner is going to accept as far as the custody of any children and frankly, even pets. So you should think about it and talk to your friend about it once you figured out who you should talk to. Another thing you should talk about is your assets: the house, the car, the savings, the debts, the furniture, everything. It's really important because what happens sometimes is that partner A says, oh, there's only this much value of the stuff in the house, and partner B has a different story. Whoever has the documentation, if it gets to court, and you hope it doesn't, but it might, but whoever has the documentation in court generally wins. And then you have to talk about support. Every state is different, so I'm just giving you what I know from my experience. And in many places, the person making more money may be expected to financially help the other person transition. That means paying support to the partner who made less money. That is generally how it works. If children are involved, support and visitation become part of the conversation too. So visitation is typically when the kids will see the other parent, but the parent comes to you or they just visit them. And custody means that you're splitting the custody. Depending on how the split is, it typically affects any financial support that happens after you figure out which friend you can talk to. And hopefully, I would also suggest mediation before you go the route of a lawyer so you can sit down and work things out. In general, a mediator is cheaper than a lawyer. One of the things that a lot of couples get hung up on when they're getting separated is what they're entitled to. Yes, a good mediator will tell you what you're entitled to. A good lawyer will tell you what you're entitled to. There's also a cost besides um, the money of getting what you want sometimes. There's many decisions that couples end up making just for peace because they do not want to go through the headache of chasing the money and then paying the lawyer in order to get the money for the thing that they're entitled to. But anyways, we will talk about lawyers and when to listen to your lawyer. In general, you should listen to your lawyer. The only time you want to question your lawyer or get a second opinion if they are predatory. Um, Most lawyers are not. Most lawyers are going based on what you tell them. So again, one of the reasons you want to have a friend is so that you can have the conversations with them that you have with friends instead of having those conversations with your lawyer who's going to bill you for those conversations and they're not your friend, they're your agent in the divorce. Honestly, all of this is why you need a plan. So once you figure out what friend is trustworthy, you want to sit down with them and talk about that plan. Like, what is the plan for the timeline? When should you speak to a lawyer? When will you actually leave? When will you tell the kids? When do you want to tell your family and friends? Take some time to think about this. This is not something that you need to rush. A lot of people have been going through maybe years of thinking about leaving by the time they leave. Another couple months to think about what your plan is going to be isn't the thing that's going to ruin this process. You really want to think about at least what you want and what you expect before you communicate it to anyone, let alone to your partner. One of the hardest parts is accepting that you will lose friends through this process and family. People will feel like they have to choose sides. I'm not saying that you have to make that choice, but sometimes you need to choose peace. And that may mean letting go of some relationships because you can look at the situation usually and figure out who is going to eventually make the decision for one person or the other. And then, in my opinion, you should decide for yourself to let that go instead of holding on to it and having that be a thing that harms you because you end up grieving this unexpected loss. It's better to understand that the most likely thing is your in laws, as much as they're nice and they're going to keep in contact with you and you love those people, hopefully, then the reality is you're still going to have a more limited relationship with them than you used to, at least for a time. You may get back into a good relationship with them over time. I'm talking about initially. It's very realistic to expect that you're going to lose contact with some people and the relationship's going to change with a lot of people. I really think that's the majority of who you should talk to and what you should talk to about with them once you figure that out. A good friend can really help you through this. And if you're blessed enough to have someone who can walk with you through it, that's a gift. I know this is a lot. Helping people think through these things carefully is part of what I do. If you need support, feel free to reach out. I'll drop my contact info below and we can see if we're a good fit to work together. I hope this helps. Take care.